Our top story this morning, claims and counterclaims over who blew up the key dam in Kherson. We have Rohit with us to get us all the updates on the dam breach. Rohit.
Thanks, him. It was a key dam on the Dnipro river. That is the latest casualty in this war that's happening in Ukraine at the moment. We'll tell you more about that. This dam was blown up less than 24 hours ago, and this has sent a torrent of floodwaters into the war zone. This has triggered a large-scale exodus, and nearby villages are forced to evacuate. The UN chief has called this tragedy yet another example of the horrific price of war on people. Let's tell you more about this dam and the breach that has opened the floodgates of suffering and blame game. It's called the Kakhovka Dam. It's located on the Dnipro river and was blown up by an explosion yesterday. You can see that breach over here on that dam. It's a Soviet-era dam which powered the hydroelectric station. There's a huge 240-kilometer long and 23-kilometer wide reservoir behind it. We'll talk about that reservoir and the significance of that in just a bit. Now, this has resulted in water breaching the banks over the Dnipro river, triggering flood warning in nearby residential areas. You can see the waters gushing out of that breach in the dam. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has slammed the attack and said that Russia has unleashed an environmental bomb of mass destruction. Strong words there coming from Volodymyr Zelensky. He said that Russian so-called terrorists must be expelled from every corner of Ukrainian land. Now, an emergency session of the UN Security Council was summoned on Tuesday, and both Russia and Ukraine have blamed each other for blowing up this crucial dam on the Dnipro river. Now, as per the Geneva Convention, what does the Geneva Convention say? They say that warring parties in a war should not be targeting dams. That's what the Geneva Convention says, that you are not supposed to target dams in war zones since it poses danger to civilians. Now, let's take a look at the human cost, something that's often forgotten as the focus stays on combat and the propaganda from both sides. Let's look at that. The dam burst and the subsequent flooding has led to widespread evacuation in nearby areas. Residents have watched, sometimes in tears, as massive amount of water floods and floodwaters have swept and washed away their homes in Kherson. So locals have watched helplessly as the water levels have risen in a matter of hours downstream when that breach happened. As per reports, in fact, river water levels was 3.5 meters or 11.5 feet higher than what it was before the dam was blown up, and that happened in just a matter of hours. You can see these pictures of evacuations downstream near the Kherson region. Now, distraught civilians were seen packing their precious belongings into cars and fleeing that area in desperation. All this in the middle of artillery fire and sounds of gunshots ringing around them. Imagine their situation. According to official reports, 40,000 people and 80 settlements were in the flood zone are at risk. As per officials, a zoo on the Russian-held riverbank was completely flooded, and all 300 animals have died in that zoo. So that's the cost of this latest action. This latest brazen act of blowing up a dam in the center of a war zone has created a fresh humanitarian disaster in Ukraine. As of now, there are no estimates as to how many people may have died as a result of this devastating attack. Now, let's tell you where this dam is and why is that significant. Let's bring up that map. So this is the Dnipro river that flows in Ukraine. This is the Kakhovka Dam, which was breached yesterday. So this is the key dam that was blown up. And you can see that picture over there of the breach in the dam over here. Now, this waters from here have gushed downstream. And what has that resulted in? It has resulted in flooding of the areas downstream. You can see these waters gushing and the river water levels rising in a matter of hours. And Kherson is one of the cities which Russian occupied, then Ukrainian got that city back, wrested it back from Russian control last year. This city has also faced flooding warnings, flood warnings and evacuation. So the waters have gushed down after that breach from this dam. But there's another critical point. This dam holds this huge reservoir behind it. You can see this reservoir here. This reservoir supplies water to two key areas. One is the Crimean Peninsula on the south, and there is Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. This Zaporizhzhia region, it supplies water here as well. Now, the threat was that because these waters have gushed down and water is used as a cooling agent at the nuclear power plant, whether there is a safety risk to the nuclear power plant because the water levels in this huge reservoir have depleted as a result of that breach. Now, IAEA chief, for the moment, is saying that there is no safety risk. The reservoir waters are sufficient to cool the plant, but of course that they are watching this situation very, very closely. Now, let's get you a map of how the situation was before this breach and how it is after that breach. Let's get that up on your screen. So you can see that this is how it was looking before that breach, and after the breach, the waters have gushed downstream. So these are the pictures of what was the situation at the dam on ground zero before, and this is what was later. Now, this latest act of the dam breach has triggered a flood of criticism and blame game, with Russia and Ukraine blaming each other for this. Let's in fact take a look at some of the reactions that have come in.
Russia has been controlling the dam and the entire Kakhovka HPP for more than a year. It is physically impossible to blow it up somehow from the outside by shelling. It was mined by the Russian occupiers, and they blew it up.
Предпринятая Киевом преднамеренная диверсия против объекта критической инфраструктуры носит крайне опасный характер и, по сути, может быть отнесена к разряду военных преступлений или терактов.
The destruction of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant dam is one of the most significant incidents of damage to civilian infrastructure since the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The sheer magnitude of the catastrophe will only become fully realized in the coming days. But it's already clear that it will have grave and far-reaching consequences for thousands of people in southern Ukraine on both sides of the front line, through the loss of homes, food, safe water, and livelihoods.
We're doing the best we can to assess those reports, and we are working with the Ukrainians to gather more information. But we cannot say conclusively what happened at this point. We will certainly share more information when we can. What is clear, and what we absolutely can say, is that the damage to the Ukrainian people and to the region will be significant.
Now, our intelligence agencies are looking into this, but you wouldn't expect me to get ahead of the evidence, but obviously we'll share what we can when we can. But in the meantime, we're very clear that we've seen Russia use false flag operations in the past, and we expect them to do so in the future. Any attack, deliberate attack on civilian infrastructure, would be a war crime.